I'm real big on being out in nature. So
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that's a huge plus. And then obviously you get to deal with people who are running 200 miles. So like you get to kind of you feel what they're feeling a little bit. You kind of understand them a little bit more. And
Now then, game time, right? Serious, for real, for real. Oh, okay. All right, guys. This is the Loud on Trail podcast. This is a very exciting episode because it's a buddy of mine, someone I've met and kind of worked with, and it's an idea I've had for a while. And I mentioned to you before, introduce you to our guest here. So this is Nicky, but you can go ahead and introduce yourself as well, Mr. Nicky. Yes, I don't mess up your last name or anything, but who are you? Kind of what do you do, and what do you think the plan is for today?
Hi everybody. My name is Nicky Atkins. I'm a photographer, mainly focused on trail running and track and field. Um, but yeah, I've got a little bit of a background in running. Um, Nothing too crazy. I'm not the fastest or the slowest, but I like to get out there. So, I just enjoy taking photos and all that kind of stuff.
Perfect. Exactly. 100. Okay. Perfect. So that was my first question. Actually, was like, what kind of came first, the photography or running, or like if you do run, like which one are you more of a photographer that runs, or you're more of a runner that shoots pictures?
Ooh, that's a really good way of putting that question. Man, I guess I'd say I'm a runner who takes photos.
Oh, okay.
I've been running, I guess, since I was about 13. Um, wasn't like I said, wasn't the best or wasn't the worst, but I had a pretty decent running career. Now I just kind of do it for fun. But yeah, I've always had kind of love for running. Like most runners kind of get how it clears your mind and
Yes.
it's kind of like a big stress reliever. So that's one of the main reasons I do it for sure.
Oh, yeah,
So
yeah. I 100% agree. All right. So then, what made you like? Okay, want to get to photography? Was it maybe because of running, or like you like the idea of photography, and then you're like, well, I like running, and I think taking pictures is cool. So is that kind of where it led? Like, if I can, mix the worlds together, that'd be the best. And that start like school or something, or after?
no, so yeah, that's kind of exactly what it was. I wanted to mix the two. I had seen some photos on like Instagram and stuff like that, and I was like, man, that looks so cool. It'd be super neat to like just kind of be involved in the running world. Like realistically, I'm just kind of like a fly on the wall at these meets. I'm just there, and then I'm gone. So that's kind of like that was my idea. Was like if I could learn to take photos and get the opportunity to be at these cool meets, like that's obviously like just in itself awesome. And then if you can get paid, that's even better. But
Yeah.
yeah, what was it? Basically 2 years ago, like 2 days ago, actually, was when I first decided I wanted to like actually take pictures. And it kind of started off with just going to follow some of my friends running or going and following them while they're cycling or something. And then I ended up buying a camera and just drove to Stillwater, Oklahoma, where they have a big uh, cross country meet at OSU, and took a couple pictures. A couple of them were pretty good, and somebody had reached out and asked if they could use one, and really like that was really enough for me to be like, okay, let's try to keep this going and see what happens. And man, I've been so fortunate and lucky in the past 2 years to like just from going from that driving to a meet, that I didn't know anybody, didn't even have credentials or anything, was just going out there for fun
Yeah.
to now getting to kind of go to some of the places that I get to go to is it's honestly amazing. I can't even believe it.
I know that's really cool. Yeah, if you're I'm gonna do this thing, and you go out there and try it, and then someone reaches out, and that's a little confirmation, like, oh, I'm doing something right. Cool. Was that just
Yes,
like somebody's
exactly.
friend, or like from the school, or like a magazine,
It
or?
was it was like it's a big, I don't know how big you could call it, but they're pretty big on Instagram. They have like 30,000 followers. So that was like it's a running
Oh,
page
okay.
called Runners Central. And yeah, they just were like, "Hey, can we use this?" And I was like, "Sure." And then
All right, just give me some credit. Put a little
yeah,
bottom. Yeah,
exactly. That was it. That was it. I was like, "Just tag me and we're good." And yeah, I don't know. It's funny to think back and be like that one picture was like like something that kind of kept me going. So it was interesting for sure.
Nice. Do
So
you
shout
remember?
out to Runner Central.
That's also, yeah, that's so cool, and that's how it works nowadays too. Do you remember the like the runner it was, or what the event was, or was it like a relay or?
So it was a 10K, and like at OSU, it's like a huge meet. It's called the Cowboy Jamboree, and they have like normally it's like the first big meet for the college athletes of the year for cross country. So they'll go out and it's kind of a test to see where everybody's at early on in the
Yeah,
season,
okay, okay.
and it's just like it was. I remember they were coming up a hill, and it was like right at the crest of the hill, and it was they were all jumbled together. So it was like probably within the first mile or so. So I mean, everybody was right there,
Yeah,
but it was just like it was just the perfect like not like giving myself any credit.
obviously it was pretty
They
good.
did it
Yeah.
all for me. I got lucky that everybody was kind of in stride at that moment, and it was one of those things. So it was. I do remember the picture for sure.
Awesome. Yeah, yeah. Okay. So awesome, awesome. Well, that kind of leads. Yeah, that's great. And I was wondering, I figured you kind of did like maybe other sports or not just trail running because that's how I know you're from. But like, I mean, you could do other things, of course. So I figured track or something or yeah, cycling or other things. Um, let's see. So how? I guess that's kind of how. Yeah, really how you started with it. What's been your favorite place, or is there a particular like location that you like to shoot in general, or has there been like a race that you've gone to or a meet, in the last couple of years that's been like you love it?
So there are two that kind of stand out.
Okay.
Uh, One is track and then one is ultra. So the Oregon 200 is the ultra one. It's a 200-mile race up in I believe it starts. I know they go through Oak Ridge, Oregon, so I don't know exactly where it starts, but um, that one was super cool just because like I've done 100-mile races and stuff like that, but 200 miles is kind of like a different story
Oh
because
man, yeah.
it's more than 2 days. I think it was like the winter was within 4 days last year. So it was like you're out there for a long time. And basically what had happened last year was the guy I was working with, he dropped me off and he was like, you got 7 miles to walk that way. You've got 7 hours. Don't go too fast. Don't go too slow. So it's basically I'm out just out in the woods in Oregon completely by myself and no service, no nothing. And it was just like obviously the runners are great and stuff like that, but it was just so nice being
Yeah.
like it was so gorgeous. I can't even describe how beautiful it was, but it was just neat like being out there and kind of I'm real big on being out in nature, so
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that's a huge plus. And then obviously you get to deal with people who are running 200 miles, so like you get to kind of you feel what they're feeling a little bit, you kind of understand them a little bit more, and I don't
Yeah.
know, it's very it's so mind
Yeah,
it's you got to be so mentally tough to get through that, and
it's a
it's
lot.
cool like getting to understand what it takes.
I would, yeah. That's again kind of the same. The reason I wanted to get your point of view on this because, like, and like you said earlier, kind of being like a fly on the wall. Like, everyone, runs. They may not see all the other runners and competitors, like when I'm running and stuff. But like, everyone comes down a corner and you see like the camera guy or something, and you're like, my guy, and like everyone is like so looking forward. Not necessarily the reason. Like, it's nice to see the photographer, and it's cool, and they're like a part of it too. But then, like, yeah, afterwards, you don't see them, or they're so special, and they're like a little quick little like ghost, and they disappear and stuff. So then if
Exactly.
I was running a 200-mile race and I've already ran 100 miles, maybe I haven't seen anybody in a couple of hours, and I come around the corner and Nick is like, "What's up, man?" He's like chilling with the birds and stuff, and just like picture like another human, like, man,
Exactly. Yep.
you got
Just
so much.
somebody.
Yes, yes, just a little smile and like, you got it, bud. Click. And they're like, I got it.
Exactly.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That's a special. Yeah, it's a special spot. You've probably helped, just having given someone a little bit of a pep or like a good feeling, and just like, so many people like it's that's pretty cool. I have a random question. One of the races we were at together, I cannot remember. It was a night one, I think, but you had you mentioned that race, and it made me think of, I want to say, a hat that you had or something. I asked you about a hat, and you mentioned that race, and I was like, dang, that sounds really cool. I don't know why, but yeah, I don't know if it's a Puma hat or something. Anyway, it looks like a wool hat. It looked really hot, and I
Yeah,
was
yeah. It's
like,
I'm wearing it right now.
okay, I was like, what's the hat? Is something about that race? Or I can't remember where you got it. Anyway, uh, yeah, yeah. That's something special. And being out there in just nature and be like, this is kind of my job right now. Like, That's
Yeah,
really cool.
exactly. That's what like, and I realized that last year. It was like, man, this is so like it's the coolest thing that I could be doing at the moment was just like being out there, like no worries, no nothing, just focused on getting the runners and then enjoying just being outside. So yeah, it's definitely it's so nice. I can't even
That's great.
describe.
That's really good. I've been having a little bit of, I wouldn't say like trouble, but really thinking and contemplating stuff of like what should I be doing? What am I working towards? And like all that kind of deep, ridiculous human like thought, And
Yeah.
last Sunday, or actually today's Monday, so yesterday,
Okay.
at church, that was kind of the message Ashley was talking about was like, find your cause and pray for that and figure it out. And like, if you're going the right direction for your cause, there's going to be struggles, obviously. And like all these, I'm like, oh man, that's what I'm going through. But it's, and we go up and that's kind of like a roller coaster. But if you have any points like that where you're like, man, this is jamming right now. Like, this is really good. I feel really good. This is where I'm kind of supposed to be. So that's awesome. I'll move
For
into
sure.
the next question. So, what's like a tip if you could go back in time, like 2 years when you were
Mm.
starting, to tell yourself? What would you like stop yourself from doing, or what would you like tell yourself to do? Like a tip that really help you out.
That's good. There's definitely a lot. The main one I would say is probably don't be like scared. Like I remember going to like bigger meets and like obviously not really knowing what I was doing, but like you're kind of afraid to get in there because really whenever you first start and you kind of don't really know what you're doing, you see all these other camera people at
Right.
meets and stuff like that, and you're like, oh man, I wish I had their gear. I wish I had this. I wish I had that. But really, everybody's there doing the same thing. So it all comes down to who's going to just execute it the best way. And sometimes, especially when you're first starting, you kind of have to find different ways to make the scene look cooler in itself. So you kind of have to get a little, I could like to say it's artsy. You got to get a little artsy and kind of just mess around with stuff. And sometimes that can be a little nerve wracking, especially in the beginning, because you feel like you don't know what you're doing anyway. So then, whenever you kind of try something new, you're going to think, at least with me, I thought, oh, nobody's going to like this, and that. But really, once you kind of like quit worrying about,
Right.
how
Just do it.
people perceive your work, you that's when you really start to grow as an artist, I guess. I don't know if artist is the best term, but yeah, you definitely once you like quit worrying about everything outside of your control, which is
Yeah.
just basically life. But yeah, just kind of focus on your work and stuff. That's what I would definitely tell myself is just quit worrying about other people's um, perception or quit worrying about if you're going to be as good as they are on the day
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
if because at some point you will grow and get to that point. It's just like everything, just like with running. If you were to run every single day, you'll get better at it.
You get
So
that's
yeah, it was just mainly just I guess stay out of your own head. It's the best thing you could do.
that's solid information. Yeah. Yeah. Everyone write that down. That's such a good like a life thing, right? Don't there's a good quote and I'm gonna chop it up. I can't remember exactly how it goes, but something like comparison is the root of like killing growth. Like if
Mhm.
you're always comparing yourself, you will not grow because yeah, you're looking at the person like why aren't they doing that? And like they were in your shoes, the best basketball player in the
Exactly.
world, had to practice their free throws or whatever they're doing, so there's motivation in that if you can keep it that way or be optimistic, but there's you gotta be able to catch yourself when you realize if you can realize that you are kind of putting yourself down and like am I doing this right and all that. And I used to think in recently in the last year or so I've had more of understanding with like cameras in my job now. I've been in for a few months. I'm kind of like the media guy, or I am the media guy, so I've had to learn more about cameras and things. And I used to think like photography was just like like taking pictures like it is. And I was like that like anyone could be a photographer. You're just taking pictures like uh and now like having understanding and like no, it's really cool. Same thing with like I like a lot of sound stuff. Like once
Yeah.
you learn how sound works, once you learn how light works with cameras and the settings on this, and like, well, this is technically like you're saying, like you can do your own thing. And you're like, well, usually people want to use this lens and like this like exposure or whatever, but I'm gonna try it with this and like that. And you're like, there is a definitely an artistic kind of skill to it and a personal thing, and that which can make like it goes back like anyone can take a picture, but can you take a picture like Nicky? Can you see what this person sees? Like this musician makes music this way with this guitar, and
Exactly.
so it's another world for some people, but there's definitely a skill to it. That's real cool. So good advice. Long around. I guess in kind of in that same vein. So like if someone was starting, um, and they get a lot of people get caught up in like with anything that may be exciting or a hobby, or they want to turn into a side job or a career. So like as far as gear, what does and like I was just saying, we recently where I work at my church, we needed a third camera, and they had like a GoPro before and it messed up, and I was like, we need like a camera we can live stream with, and then we can also use it for photos. Like they just wanted to get like a camcorder. It's like,
Yeah.
let's get a camera. We can change out lenses. It's way more versatile than just this camcorder situation. And so we got like a Canon R50, and that's been really cool. And it's
Nice.
solid. And I'm like, I think that's good. I did so much research. I like burned out on it. I'm like, this should be good because they're expensive. So
Yeah.
given the price and everything, what do you think? What should I worry about if I'm like Nikki? I really like, canoeing and boating and stuff and fishing, and I want to go out there and take, photography of sports. So if someone who wants to be a new sports photographer and they're getting out there and they're like, look, I'm not going to compare myself to the people. I'm just going out there and do it. But what do I do it with? So what do you think? What's the setup of gear? Like what's just like a standard? Someone's got like $1,000 or less laying around.
Okay. No, that's actually a good price point too. Cause man, so I'll kind of tell you what I started with, and I like to buy things new, but buying camera used is actually not a bad idea. So they say the best camera you have is the one you have in your hands,
Ooh,
which so I ended up getting a Sony A6400 was my first camera, and it came with a lens. So the camera by itself I think was like 800 bucks, and then the lens was like a few hundred. So right around that
right.
$1,000 range. But man, it's just like it's hard to like say not to get it caught up in gear, because gear does change some stuff at a certain point. But definitely when you're first starting, the main thing to be
Need
was
have
is
something.
just get a camera that, like you said, if you're going to do both, just that can video, take pictures, and that's got I don't really want to say decent computer system, but something that isn't cheap is the
What
best
about
way of
like
putting it.
sensor size? Like, what's the smallest or like kind of
Size wise,
yeah, no, well, like yeah, the sensor, right? Like if it's like a
oh, sensor. Um,
three, I can't remember the names of. There's like full frame and three quarters or four thirds or something, and like
so if you could start on a full frame, that's what I would suggest. Just because more lenses, better lenses go for full frame, go with full frame cameras. So like my A6400 was a crop sensor.
ooh,
So basically, what that is like only crop. You can use both lenses, but only crop lenses will work well 100% with the camera. Like
fully.
I ended up getting a full frame lens or full frame lens, put it on the camera, and what it does is it crops in. So not a bad thing, not the worst thing in the world, but full frame just gives you more of a window to hit the shot and stuff like that. So, but really, man, that's probably one thing that I did when I first started. I just got real caught up in like the gear and stuff like that, and you just practice is the best thing that you could do. I mean, as long as you have a camera that could take pictures, even like, I mean, you could go buy a $200 camera and take better pictures than half the people out there. So like, it's just some of it is gear, but a lot of it is just practicing, getting after it. But you could definitely, with $1,000, you could definitely go either to Best Buy or Walmart or even eBay and buy a used one that's
Right, right.
even just as good. Because one thing that I've learned about people who have camera gear, it is expensive, so they do take care of it.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
buying, it's not like buying something used that somebody just threw around and stuff like that. So
That's a good point. Yeah, it is expensive, and I have seen and heard many people be like you could probably get one used and it will be okay, especially if you're
yeah,
starting off and stuff. And that's kind of what I've picked up. And with my job, they're like, well, let's I don't want to worry about that. I want like a warranty and stuff, so let's get a new one. But
yeah,
that's kind
that's
of
how I am.
that's kind of what I've picked up. If you can do it, just get up and do it. Go out there, kind of like maybe what you did if you live by college or something, or there's meets, And I would say with everything too, get involved, right? Kind of do some networking or follow some pages of things and see what's if you're into like whatever I said, fishing or running, and just follow that and see
Exactly.
what's meeting up. And like with anything, just because somebody's there doesn't mean they're the best. So if somebody would just, decided they wanted to take pictures and they're like, I'm gonna give this a thing, and they, have too much money to understand whether how much they have, and they're just like out there with a super expensive camera and taking pictures, that doesn't mean their pictures are good. Where you could show up with like a $500,000 setup and like have more intent and like,
Exactly.
kind of go back, I guess, in a circle. Get out there and do it, right? Um, so back into running. And this could be good for anyone who's listening. That takes pictures and records also as well. But and for running in races, and I just ran one a night race Friday night.
How'd it
So
go?
that was a cool one. That was fun. What kind of challenges come up in a night race?
Oh yeah, that's probably the most challenging times. We actually had I was at a cross country camp this past weekend. They did something called the Glow Mile,
Ooh,
and it was basically they wore glow sticks. There were glow sticks laid out for 800 meters. You turned around and came back, but I mean it was as dark as it could possibly be out there. So I definitely got some practice in this weekend with that. Man, at night the only way you can really get pictures is if there's even some type of light or you have a flash. So, um, like this time last year, same exact thing. They had the same mile, but I was so new, I didn't really know what I was doing with the flash. So that took a lot of practice to figure out kind of how to use
okay.
to use it. Um, if you're in the dark, like say we're at a finish line and there's like maybe a couple of floodlights or something on the finish line. So, like with that, one thing you kind of have to remember is like with cameras, and if anybody's listening that knows anything about cameras, once you raise the ISO, it's going to get noisier.
Yes.
So, and especially with runners, you need kind of a higher shutter speed because you want to be able to freeze them in the moment.
Oh,
Um, so,
yeah.
especially at night, if you're shooting at a higher shutter speed and your ISO is super high or something, it just doesn't make um, for a good picture, I would say.
And
So
let
some,
me, I'll hop in just so people
yeah, yeah,
can tag along and correct me if I'm wrong. So maybe I'm trying to check myself too. So in the ISO, when you're turning it up, you're trying to not necessarily, or I guess maybe make like fake light, but take in more light. And since
mhm.
it's dark, you're turning that up. And then what Nikki means by noise is like, it's like a fuzzy, almost pixely kind of like, it doesn't look very sharp and clear because it's making
Yeah,
like
exactly,
artificial like a light on it, right? So it starts in there moving. I didn't think about running and speed and having the shutter speed. So yeah, it'll not like make a good picture. So
for sure.
oh
Yeah, it definitely it just it just doesn't make for a great picture is the best way to put it. But that's where like something with where gear does come into play. Like the first lens I had, it had an aperture that only went down to 3.5, and the aperture is basically how open. Um, I'm going to sound kind of silly because I don't know exactly what I'm talking about, but it's like the opening. It's like how open the lens ring, I guess, will
yeah,
open.
I
Yeah,
know
yeah,
what
yeah.
you're talking about. Yeah.
So, like with the like one of my lenses, I have 1.8 aperture, which is amazing at nighttime because it's basically just as open as it can be almost, and it's letting in as much light as possible. So, like with stuff like that, gear does kind of come into play, but you can always get around that. But definitely at night, there's a lot more challenges at nighttime for sure. Especially if it's I've been in a couple of races where it's been nighttime at the finish and it's raining also, so you're
Oh
having
man.
to like kind of figure that stuff out. And but you overcome all that and you fit. And whenever I first started shooting at night, it looked terrible. So and now it looks better. We'll say I don't say it looks great, but it looks better.
Night, and that's why I brought it up because I was thinking like what I'm going to ask him and everything, and I've seen you at night shoots as well, and y'all have had by the finish line there's already light kind of hitting the runners, or you have like a light you'll bring out on the trail and stuff, so you're not like blinding somebody that's coming around the
Yeah.
corner with a big flash. They kind of already see the light coming. That's very thoughtful and nice. So, yeah, I see night being pretty challenging, and then kind of getting on that with the rain too. So what's the most and I mean, when anytime, it doesn't have to be around like running, but anytime that you've been shooting, have you ever been in like Like danger or like if you're like, I'm gonna get on this ledge, just be a really cool spot for a shoot, or like I don't know, or somebody or just something crazy happen.
So nothing crazy has happened like that. I have definitely gotten on a ledge and probably been too close to the ledge, and it's been a little sketchy. I wouldn't say we've had any close calls, but um, there's been a couple times we've been out there and like you hear rumblings about like mountain lions or they hey we saw a
Yeah.
bear today or something like that. So you are kind of worried. I haven't run into any animals just yet. We'll knock on some wood, but you know it is kind of you're never not in danger. So like I mean if you're out there on the trail by yourself and something happens, you fall and break an ankle or something, you're somewhat out there by yourself. So um, I guess technically you could be in danger, but I've never had any close calls, thank God. So I
Uh,
don't plan on it either. Fingers crossed that never I don't never have to worry about that. But yeah, there's been a couple of times I've gotten a little bit close to the edge, and the guy I was working with was a little. He was like, "Man, I don't want to have to call your mom and tell her what happened. So
oh, really?
please," he's like, "Stop." So
Oh, okay, okay. And that's what made me think about it. If animals, or I've been a race and we see scorpions or snakes or something like that. So if,
exactly.
well, imagine if you're out there, just hanging out and waiting, sitting for an hour or something, and then just like, oh hey, there comes a creature. How often do you travel? Yeah, like or where all have you been, or is there a place that you've gone to recently that's been your favorite, like outside of Texas?
I was I think it's a track meet they do over there. It was held at Memphis University, and I really enjoy that track meet because they do pole vault in the middle of Beale Street, which is basically like Sixth Street in Austin. If anybody's familiar with that, so they basically just put a pole vault mat and a pole
What?
vault runway in the middle of the street. Yeah, it's super cool, man. I'll have to show you some pictures, but um, I've been to a handful of places, so I never really was much of a traveler until I kind of started taking photos. So it's been not only have I been able to like learn how to take photos and get better at it, I've been able to travel with it too. So it's been like a win-win for me in every place. But man, I've been to California a handful of times, Oregon a couple of times,
All
and
right.
then I recently visited Sedona earlier this year, and that's probably one of my favorite places. It's so gorgeous over there that like you just can't even like once again, I can't even describe how beautiful it is. It's
Yeah,
just
yeah.
the sunsets were gorgeous, the red rocks, everything was just so beautiful. And they say it's kind of like a healing place. So you definitely get that vibe whenever you go over there.
Oh yeah, I'd love to. Yeah, I definitely now getting more involved with running outside in trails and stuff, and like you see other people's videos of trails and where they're running and everything, and like, man, I want to run around some like gigantic trees or like in a canyon or
Yeah,
the experience the rest of creation and everything, and it's like that looks cool and like, yeah, it would be really sweet. Um,
that's actually something I think about on the trail all the time. I'm like when the runners come by, I just wish I was in their position and somebody was doing what I was doing because I'm like, man, it'd be so gorgeous to just run this trail right now. So there's definitely a little bit of jealousy whenever all the runners are out there. I'm like, oh, I wish I could be doing what you guys are doing. But it's also great sitting there too. But
yeah.
I'm not struggling like they are. So
Yeah, you have a very special spot. Yeah. Okay, so and speaking of running, um, what do you like? What do you run? Like, do you just get to jog around, or have you been in a race recently, or do you like distance stuff, or just like 5Ks, or?
I haven't raced too recently. I did a marathon back in April, the Oklahoma City Marathon. A buddy of mine wanted to do that, so we both just kind of got it together and trained together and did that. That's the most recent race I've done. I did a half marathon trail race, my first ever, I guess, trail race you could say, in California back in like February or so, and that went well. I got second, which I was very surprised about.
Hey.
My mom really wanted a bottle of wine from California, so that was what the top three places got. So I was like, "Well, this is my chance to get her a bottle of wine." So I made it happen. But really, man, a lot of the running I do is for fun and for mentally keeping me sane. So right now, I'm trying to train for a 50K. I'm working my way onto the trail. I'm a big road guy. Love the roads. It's just a lot easier and a
Yeah,
lot
yeah.
faster. So It's always nice to kind of look down at the watch and see you're going about a minute faster than you would be on the trail.
Isn't that frustrating?
But
Yeah, yeah.
it is so frustrating. Oh my gosh, Jen, it kills me. But no, I've learned to love trail for sure, especially just from shooting it. But being out there, like, uh, it's just different scenery, and you have to pay attention a little bit more. You have to be a little bit more agile out there. So I'm trying to get into the trail. I'd love to do. I have this crazy thought where I feel like if I just sign up for 100 miles, I could go do it, and I know that's probably nuts, but I kind of want to start that at some point. So I don't know. We'll see. Right now, I'm working my way back into it. I took some time off after the marathon, and uh, I was at that cross country camp this weekend, so I saw a bunch of kids that were faster than me. So I was like, yeah, maybe I should get back in shape.
That yeah, the speed is one thing for sure, and I think that's maybe why I like trail too. One, and I've said before, just like in the nature and like liking it out there and everything, and it's got to be more, watching for routes and everything else. But like it is really nice to just be fast out on like a sidewalk or a road or something, and not worry about that stuff. There
It
is,
is also nice,
huh?
like jumping on the trail and slowing down a little bit. I won't lie about that.
Yeah,
It is
yeah,
nice to be like, okay, we're gonna hit the trail today. There's no reason to push it. Let's just take it easy and relax, and we'll get this thing done.
yeah, yes, yes. They're both, yeah, both great aspects, different sides and things. There is, speaking of Oklahoma and distance races, there's a one coming up that I've looked into before and I've heard good things. The Lake Murray in Oklahoma has the 100K and I believe a 100 miler. And one loop though, like just one lap is a 50K.
Oh my goodness, I didn't know is that that's a good sized trail.
That's
Wow.
the thing, yeah. And my
And
buddy,
that's a huge benefit for runners too. Because I mean, I know me personally, I couldn't do like 10 loops of a 10-mile course. That'd be crazy. I'd
right,
have to do at least the lowest I could do is like 3 loops or 5 loops with the same one. But other than that, I mean, that's even pushing it then. So that one loop for 50K, that's huge. I mean,
yes,
I've heard of the race. I want to say last year it was really muddy. I
yes,
could be wrong.
that's the
Okay. So yeah. So yeah, I bet that's really nice out there. As long as you don't have to deal with, the flooding that happened last year,
yeah.
whenever.
And that's you can't really, I guess, prepare for that. But I've heard great things, and that's what my buddy's getting ready to do the 100 miler. And he's done. This is gonna be like his 600 miler or something. He was like,
Sheesh.
one lap is a 50K. It's like, ooh, I like that distance. That's hard,
Exactly.
and it's that being one lap, like one big loop of just seeing all new stuff. Like that's intriguing for sure.
Yep.
So, and that's not too
I may
far.
have to look that up.
Yeah, it's
When
not
is
like
that?
2 months away. It's like end of
Okay.
October.
Okay. I can maybe
Uh,
get in shape enough to do a 50K.
that's what I'm like, man, that'd be, and then I know me personally, when it does help me motivate, like if I'm already signed up for it,
Yep.
and especially this last race I just did, the night runs is like a team thing. I was like, well, you better train a little more for your team, and I was trying to, just do a little extra. I've just been so busy with other stuff, but like it helps, it definitely motivates me and gets my butt in gear. But
Yep. For
uh,
sure. It keeps it on the brain. Like I have something that I have to do. So if I don't go out there and train for it, then I'll be more mad at myself for not training than getting out there today and going to run.
yep, 100%, 100%. No, I meant to ask. So, kind of when we first started talking about with you running everything, did you run in school or did you play soccer or something like that? Like what kind of made you get into running at first?
So I actually have, I guess it's called a syndrome would be the best way to put it. I have a weird syndrome. It's very rare. Like I had to go to a few different doctors when I was in seventh and eighth grade to kind of figure out what was going on. I've got some vertebrae in my neck that are fused. So I was like kind of really big on football growing up and like baseball and basically every sport like a kid would do. But football was kind of like what I really liked. Well, whenever I figured out my neck was a little messed up, I had to stop playing football. So I
Mm.
kind of like grew more of a love for running at that point. And I ran middle school and high school cross country and all the track and all that stuff. And then I did a year of D3 track and field at UT Tyler over in Tyler, Texas. And that was a fun year for sure. Probably had too much fun, but really enjoyed kind of getting to the next level per se, I guess you could say, as D3 as next
More
level as it
serious.
is.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
um, it was fun. We got to go to some cool meets like over in Alabama, Houston, and I got to kind of see some stuff. I did get to run a little bit faster than I ever had, so that was nice too. I was more of a 400 guy, 800 guy,
Oh,
um, but the 400 was kind of what I really liked. So
me too.
I've always enjoyed distance for sure. I enjoy watching distance more than sprints, like races wise. Like especially with the Olympics coming up, I'm really excited about like the 1500 and the 5K and
Yeah,
stuff like
yeah.
that. I think those races are a little bit more exciting, just I guess because there's more time to watch. But
Build. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, I've always loved distance for sure. I used to get made fun of actually for my sprinting, like the sprint guys on the team, because they'd always be like, "Why are you so interested in all the distance stuff?" And I'm like, "I don't know, it's just cool, man, just super cool."
Yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah, there's a little bit of background, but um, more so for fun now, I'd say.
Gotcha. Okay, very good. Yeah, I wish I had more. I would say my act together. It's just I was younger and more. Like, it's not like a terrible kid. Just this. I wish I had more of a drive to try to focus on stuff because like I was decent at football and then I wanted to do track and everything, but I didn't get to college for any of that. Just high school. But if I would have been able to like keep my grades up, I would have been in it more because I was like, why am I even doing that? I don't get. As soon as a report card comes out, I can't play or I can't go run and meet it, go to meet. So like I just need
Exactly.
to spend more time, studying and not worrying about this and like, why I train so hard and I can't. Yeah, so I did the same as 400 and the 400 relay and then like triple and long jump. It's fun.
Heck yeah.
I really liked it, and I just wish I like, man. Now I'm like, wonder how how that could have been if I could have got to go more, but it is what it is.
Exactly. Yeah, that's if there's any kids listening, definitely keep your grades up. That's so much more important than you could even imagine.
Yeah,
Because
it's
same situation with me. There was a lot of like coming out of high school, better GPA would have been more money or better school or really there's so many different countless what ifs you could throw out there. But definitely grades are such a huge part in sport and really in sports. Like it they go hand in hand.
it's a great
So
foundation. Yeah, you need it for a lot of stuff. If anything, it just shows the effort to people. Like, oh, he gives a little bit more of a dang
exactly.
because at least his grades are up, or whatever. It's
For
speaking of the
sure.
Olympics. I just noticed you have like an Olympic shirt on. Is that just to be really cool and outdress me, or did you get that from
Yeah,
workout also?
96. Well,
What?
so I actually I came straight from work. I didn't want to wear my Chevy shirt on here. So no, I had this one in the car. Athens 96, the year I was born. So for some reason I've got like a love for this year of the summer games.
Very good. I really enjoyed trying to watch the Olympics and just seeing like the best of the best come together too and everything. All right, man. We'll wrap it up here in just a second. I've got a quick little kind of spitfire questions to ask to be just for fun, and then we'll see if that breaks off any more conversation
Okay.
and then last a little bit here. All right. Nikon or Canon?
Oof, Canon.
Oh yeah.
I shoot Sony, so I've never shot it. Only one I've ever used is Canon.
Oh,
So I had to go with Canon.
I was kind of figuring
That's a good
Sony. So
question.
that was my next question was okay, Canon or Sony? And then probably Sony.
Sony.
Yeah,
Sony
right,
for
right.
sure. Yeah.
Yeah, so
Just
that's
just because it's what I started on, I can't even imagine switching to a different one. And I feel like Sony's done me pretty well. So
right. And that's what I've heard. Okay, solid. Okay. Um, Asics or Brooks shoes?
A6
Yeah.
for
Okay.
sure. A6. Yeah.
All right. And Saucony or Nike?
Ooh, that is so difficult.
Is it really? Okay. All
I
right.
had
Here
to
we go.
go. I had to go with Nike. I've got like a love for Nike and Phil Knight and like Steve Prefontaine, Bill Bowerman, all those guys like are embedded in my soul. I love everything about Nike. But I recently had some Saucony shoes that I was like, oh, these are like some of the best shoes I've ever worn in
Yeah.
my life. So there was the Saucony Endorphin Speeds, and
Yes.
they were just everything about them was like perfect. The cushion was great, and they were fast too. So it's hard to find that balance. But if I had to choose, I'd have to go with Nike just because if I were to race, I'd get some Nikes to race in for
A little
sure.
more solid than Nike's. I didn't know. Did you say is Fontaine was part of sponsored by Nike or something?
So he was sponsored by them. He was actually huge in like the foundation of like when they first started. They used like Bill Bowerman's kind of known for like being one of the best coaches in college history, but he's also co-founder of Nike, and he did a bunch of tests like with his waffle iron and would make pre shoes like by hand, and it was basically just like, hey, we're gonna give you this shoe, let's test it out. and like 90% of the time they'd come back and the shoes would be completely obliterated. So one, Pre's like figuring out what shoes he likes, but then Bill is figuring out what shoes are going to work for everybody in the United States. So it's like a super cool story. And I want to say they Nike founded in like 72. I could be wrong by like a few years, but
Okay.
that was the year that Pre went to the Olympics and like he wore Nike out there. And
Is
it
that
was just,
how?
it
Okay.
was kind of, yeah, kind of lucky for Pre to be where he was at and Bill be where he was at, and also Phil Knight to be down the street as well for everything to come together. It could have been any athlete, but definitely Pre was probably the best athlete that they could have got to do all of
Right.
their testing and marketing and stuff. You see that guy in some Nike shoes, you're like, oh, I gotta go get some Nikes. What are we
Definitely.
doing?
Yeah, yeah. The stud that he is. I've read a little bit about him, and I've got some stuff on him, so that made me piqued my interest about it. So, and I've heard plenty of things about the Nike and like just all it's real cool, all that kind of history. All right, back to a camera question. So, mirrorless or DSLR?
Mirrorless.
Yeah.
I've
Okay.
never used DSLR. From what I understand, I mean, I guess I've messed with one. From what I understand, and I could be wrong, with mirrorless, it's a little bit easier. I think the camera does a little bit more work for you. So like all I got to do is read the histogram, which is basically just telling me where the light is peaking or too low. So yeah, once I learned how to do that, because like when you look at a DSLR, the viewfinder is going to look, it's going to be this exact same no matter what.
Right.
Whenever you adjust settings in a mirrorless camera, it's going to change on screen and in the viewfinder. So you kind of get a more idea of like, oh, this is too dark. Oh, this is too bright.
Right.
And that helps out tremendously, at least if you're first starting, for sure. That is a game changer.
Yep. Yep. Okay. That's been my thought too with the R50 is mirrorless. But again, looking at all that stuff, I'm like, oh, that's pretty nice. All right. And then as far as running, what's your favorite pair of running gear? Like your favorite, shoes or glasses or watch or hat or anything like that?
So favorite watch is Garmin. I love Garmin. People have tried me to switch me to Coros, which
Yeah.
is enticing, but I kind of love Garmin. I don't know what it is about it. I guess it's because I've had it forever. Um, man, a hat. So anytime I go run, I've got to have a hat. I have to have a hat. I don't know when that started, but I have to have a hat. So I've got a million different running hats. Seal is obviously my favorite, just because they make great quality hats. And then clothing wise, I mean, if it's summertime, I'm going shirtless. I don't care who sees. I don't care what I look like. It's hot over here in Texas, so you gotta figure it out somehow. But shorts wise, I like the split shorts. I'm big on uh, split shorts, whether they're Nike. I'm not real too big on brand wear when it comes to clothing, but I do have a pair of Nike half tights that are some of the best things I've ever had. So, yeah, man, running gear is kind of weird because I'm like cheap. I'm a cheap guy. I don't like to buy a lot of
Get
stuff.
expensive.
I
Yeah.
will every now and then. I'll see something. Yeah, I'll see something I like a lot. But yeah, I try not to. I mean, I wear some of the same shorts I've had since I was in like eighth grade, dude. So I'm real like, if it's working, I'm good. I don't need anything else. But shoes wise, same kind of situation. If shoes aren't on sale, it's hard for me to buy them. So like right now, I bought some Adidas. I can't even remember what they're called, but they're like the 50 millimeter stack
Oh.
height. They've got the carbon fiber plate and stuff like in them. So
Oh.
they kind of help me a little bit when I'm out there, and I'm just wearing them until they blow up on me, and then it's time to go buy another pair. So, but any runners listening, buy multiple pairs of shoes. Take care of yourself. I'm just out there for fun.
Right. I'm a big a big component of if it's not broke, don't fix it. And I'll just wear some stuff out until it like
Yes,
it's falling
sir.
apart or something else. I'm like, all right. Uh awesome, man. Well, lastly here, so just what's some big goals of yours in the future? I know we talked about maybe running it's a big distance, but like where's do you have like a big shoot you're thinking coming up or a big event or something? Or just what's some stuff in the future for you?
Man, kind of just keep growing, I guess. I still work a full-time job when I'm not taking photos. So the main goal is to either make that full-time somehow or just, keep traveling as much as I can if I can't make it full-time. Obviously, it'd be super cool to be in LA in 2028 at the Olympics. So like that's the main goal. I was hoping to be there this year, but things happen. But yeah, definitely with it being in the United States and basically just being a short drive over there. Yeah, that's kind of the big goal is to definitely be at the Olympics one day. But with you know, I mean, there's so many big races throughout the year. Like I got to go to Western States a month or two ago, and that was super cool. But hopefully next year I could kind of spend a little bit more time there and kind of just get to see the course a little bit more. I had actually worked a race about 3 hours away in Monterey, California, then drove to catch the finish of Western States, which with the finish of Western States is like if you've never heard anybody talk about it, like they talk about it like it's the greatest thing in the world, like it's the most magical place on earth, and it really is, dude.
Yeah, yeah,
It's so cool to like see all those people who, some people have been waiting 15 years to run this race,
yeah,
and like it goes off of a drawing system, so you're just basically collecting tickets every time you don't get drawn. So I talked to one guy, he had like 32 tickets, so there's no telling how long he had waited, how long he had waited to
wow,
just get into that race. So like when you see them come across the line, it's like you kind of feel it a little bit more. You know what? Like
yeah,
they've
yeah,
really put in a lot of effort to get into this race.
cool.
So that's a big one for next year too. And then yeah, just I guess really the biggest races, Olympic trials in 28 will be great, all that kind of stuff. But just kind of other than that, I mean, it really what I want to do is just keep growing and getting better. I kind of the other day had like a sit down with myself and kind of went through my old work and like kind of you could really just tell like what is different and like what you've really gotten better at and grown with. So that's the main goal is just keep getting better, keep meeting new people, and kind of like getting myself out there. Because really the sky's the limit whenever it comes to this. Like I mean, you could get you could shoot one thing and then meet one person, and the next thing you know, you're in another state or something. Like that's
Yes,
basically what happened to me.
yes,
So it's really all about networking's huge and just getting yourself out there. So that if I had a main goal other than the Olympics, it's definitely to just keep growing my thing and keep being me and not having to worry about like you know just just focusing on myself, I guess, would be the main thing. Just getting better.
yeah, yeah, 100%, 100%. You can't, just keep on keeping on, right? And just trying because you never know, like you said, when something's gonna happen and stuff, man. And yeah, hey, maybe something will come from this. I hope so. Hope, and pray that'd be awesome. Like
For sure, dude. Yeah.
let's take some pictures. Dude, I appreciate your time so much. I'm glad we are able to make this happen. Where in what this kind of ties in with the two. So where can somebody find you if they wanted to look at some of your photos and stuff, or on Instagram or Facebook or whatnot, or where some places we can get some info?
For sure. So the best place to be would be on Instagram. It's Nicky Nicky underscore Atkins Atkins underscore. So Nicky underscore Atkins underscore, and that's really the best way. That's where I post a lot of my work. I'm still working on getting a website up, so hopefully that can happen at some point soon. Um, but yeah, please, yeah, feel free to reach out on Instagram or anything. Even just go look at some of my photos. That means the world to me. So there's some pretty cool ones on there that I'm proud of. So I hope you guys like them and everything. And it's I just appreciate it. I appreciate anybody who wants to take a look at my photos. So
Awesome, brother. Yeah, no, you do some great stuff. You're a great human. Like I said, I got to spend some time with you and meet you in person and work with you and stuff. You obviously donated some of your time to, talk with me here. So, man, I appreciate it so much. And yeah, dude, thank you for being on, brother. Well, I'll catch you some other time, I'm sure.
thank you, man. I appreciate it, and I can't wait to see this.